Timbers 360 is presented by Toyota.
Legend. It's a weighty word, legend. These days it's used too easily, too often. But when you get down to talking about what is a true legend, it's something that has a presence. Like the source of the legend is so fantastical, everyone wants to remember it, to have a piece of it, a feeling, a scrap. Something that says, yes, I know that story, I remember that person. Clive Charles is a legend. Follow the threads of soccer in Portland, and one way or another, you'll most likely come back to Clive. From East London to West Ham, NASL to the US, the Timbers to University of Portland, and from national championships to the international stage. Green, gold, white, purple, claret, rose, red, white, blue. The threads of Portland soccer all zig and zag, overlapping with characters, coaches, and fans, moving back and forth in a swirl of color to form a tapestry of an enduring fabric. A fabric that symbolizes what Soccer City, USA is all about. Pride, passion, community. Clive started that thread. He pushed and pulled and willed soccer and the people around him into something larger than the sum of their parts. And now it's time. Time to weave that thread into our own legend.
Welcome to a special edition of Timbers 360. I'm your host, Jake Zivin. Last month, the Timbers released the Clive Kit in honor of the godfather of Soccer City, USA, Clive Charles. Clive was an integral part of establishing Portland as a soccer city, but his influence went beyond this area and to the sport as a whole in this country. Originally from England, Clive came to Portland in the 1970s to play for the NASL Timbers. He became the legendary head coach at the University of Portland and was so influential in the local youth soccer community in Oregon. But it went beyond that to the national team. Clive was an assistant at the 1998 World Cup for the United States and the head coach at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. On this episode, we're going to look at Clive Charles' influence on the game, not just here in Portland, but across the United States. Coming up, inside Soccer City, USA, a Clive Charles story. A behind-the-scenes look at one of the newest murals in Portland. We'll introduce you to the Arclives and a special lifestyle look at the Clive Kit. You are watching Timbers 360, presented by Toyota.
It's just like a great guy. I mean, obviously he knew his soccer. He knew what he was doing on the pitch, obviously, and just like a genius. But the thing I remember is how he was able to connect with all his players. And I'll never forget one of the things he said. He's like, you're gonna be a star. Like, I don't have to worry about you. He's like, I pride myself on what I can do for that 22nd player on the roster and how I can develop them. And he truly meant it. And it didn't matter if you were playing 90 minutes every game or never saw the pitch. He treated you equally.
The story of Clive Charles is vast. You could fill an entire multi-part documentary series. On this week's edition of Inside Soccer City, USA, we spoke with just a few of the people that have been influenced by Clive's coaching, his mentorship, and his goodwill. Enjoy.
In the town on the hill where the apples grow, church bells ring every hour or so.
And Clive Charles will be coming on.
Just to see the ships coming in.
Clive's legacy is soccer in Portland and soccer in the US.
There is no thought of Soccer City USA without Clive.
Clive's legacy is amazing for what he's done and built in this area, and what he did with soccer in this city was amazing.
Clive's legacy is connection and relationships. That could be on the pitch, that could be in daily life. Because of his connections, because of his relationships with people, that's why his legacy lives on.
He instilled so much in all of us. We try and take that and further it every single day. And he instilled that in everybody that he was around. It didn't matter who it was. Clive's legacy is people.
Everlasting. Yeah. You won't die with us, that's for sure.
Thank you very much for this. It's a great honor and I appreciate it.
Clive was a very good soccer player and a very great human being.
When you think of him, for me, when I think of him as a coach, he was simple but exceptionally detailed. He was humorous but very serious. He had such an incredible ability to be able to connect with all players, whether it was on the field or personally.
The player that played every minute and the player that barely ever played still had the same relationship with Clive. Everybody was the individual first. Everybody was what's best for this person. It's the honesty, it's the respect. This is about where you are at your point as a student athlete, helping the team and the university be successful, but it's still about you as the student athlete first.
He always had a quip. He was fast to throw anything back at you, you know, a joke and a smile, but he never took himself seriously. He took the sport seriously as a player and as a coach, but as a person, he was able to laugh at himself and draw other people into it. So he set a wonderful atmosphere.
He was always fun to be around. He was a happy, positive person all the time.
I have to laugh because he brings a laugh to people. It brings a smile to your face. It tells you sort of the humour and the joy that he brought to people's life.
And West Ham substitute, Clive Charles, getting changed there. Charles takes the kick. And
Clive was a fantastic player. I mean, I think that he played most of his time, he played as a left defender, a left back. He was kind of a little bit, in some ways, ahead of his time. A lot of defenders in those days were very physical, and Clive was more technical.
Lampard played nicely there for Charles. Turned on again nicely there for Lampard, and a good cross back.
Great teammate, always talking, always chirping, organising, tuck in, push out, get to the ball, goal side, whatever it was, just these short things.
Maybe we were jealous because he could just run and run and run, you know, so that meant he was able to get up and down the park, attack, defend, and as I said, he had a very, very good left foot, so he was very technical and very cerebral in his game.
Pele chose him in his NASL All-Star team one time as the starting left back. Says something about his quality in that league at that time.
You know, Clive had a vision. He said we were going to get a stadium, which we did, and we were going to win a national championship.
When you think about a visionary, you usually think about, you know, the guys that start Apple and the guys that start, you know, all the big companies. But Clive was, in the sport, Clive was a visionary.
But the way he built that program, and he brought quality players in, and you know, getting Harry Mello involved and creating the stadium and all the things that he did to create the men's and the women's program was just, it just shows you the quality of the coach that he was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a top-class program, and the players that Clive had developed. I mean, your Tiffany Mulbridge, Michelle French, Shannon McMillans. I mean, myself growing up, those are the players I idolized.
They came to UP because of Clive, and they came to Clive because two things: his ability as a coach, but also his interest in them as a human being.
The players had a great relationship with him. When there was work to be done, it was serious, but there was always that chance of a light-hearted moment or two during the practice session.
You know, he just allowed you to play as a coach and be free and really find ways to bring out the best in you, where you were able to enjoy every time you stepped on the field instead of feeling this nervousness. It was all about being the best that you could be as a player for yourself and for your teammates, and that was going to lead to team success.
Yes, the wins, the losses, the formations, the tactics, all these things do matter, but not at the expense of people.
He would put his care over individual players over the success of the team.
He always had the kids at heart, the players. So every decision he made, he had the players at heart. Clive never lost view of that vantage point. And about the players, it wasn't always the results. It was about them as, you know, whole human beings.
He knew what he was doing on the pitch, obviously, and just like a genius. But the thing I remember is how he was able to connect with all his players.
I can't think of another person that has had such an impact on a specific community than Clive has.
What he did with soccer, with building the University of Portland program up, and then being involved in other aspects of, you know, getting to the US national team and doing other things as well, was just amazing.
I think all these guys out here now, all these women out here now should be thankful for him. He helped to lay the foundations for all this here.
I just know what I've been blessed to be a part of, and his footprint is everywhere here.
Everybody was touched by him in some way, whether it was in our ODP system, when we were youth players, whether it was the national team systems, whether it was in the college systems. All of us were around him in some fashion or another. And so his impact on us, and then how we've carried ourselves furthering the game, you know, in our time, it just keeps living on.
He did things the right way, and I think people really appreciated that. And you know, Portland is what it is in terms of the soccer community, a big part because of Clive.
When they had the memorial service there at UP, you know, there's 1,000 people in the hall. I'm up on the second tier somewhere, and I'm looking down, and I said to my wife Linda, I said, every one of those people have a story about Clive. And if you put them in 1,000 separate rooms and ask them to summarize it in 2 or 3 minutes, it would all be the same. Genuine, integrity, love these players, great coach, fun to be around, all the same stuff.
Not only was he coaching the men's team, coaching the women's team, doing stuff with the national team, then starting FC Portland and doing it on the youth side, and to bring, you know, all that full circle for everybody was why we're sitting here today, is why, you know, Portland has been, you know, such a great, you know, soccer town for 30, 40, 50 years.
All of us that were able to know him and be coached by him and be mentored by him, we carry a piece of him with us. He may be gone, but his impact will be here forever.
You are watching Timbers 360, presented by Toyota.
You don't come across these type of people in your life often. And when you do, and especially for the short time we knew Clive, it was just a comet. And it was coming through and burning bright. And anybody in its path got sucked into it. And it was just an incredible opportunity to meet somebody that I know I'll never come across again in my life. And I'm better for it. We're better for it. The game's been better for it. I just wish he had more time.
You may have noticed there's a new mural in North Portland. It was created as part of the Clive kit release, is located not 2 miles from the University of Portland, where Clive Charles spent the majority of his coaching career and had so much success. The mural honors Clive, the Timbers, and Soccer City, USA.
I'm Blaine Fontana. I'm a multidisciplinary artist designer and a local resident porter where I work and live. It's a 50th anniversary project for the Timbers. The big secret, in addition to Clive Charles, was the emphasis on the vintage jersey that will be released kind of in tandem with this activation mural slash wallscape. I'd say doing a mural project like this, very powerful in that sense, where they do create an identity inside the community. It's accessible to everybody. The goal and the purpose and aim, and hopefully the story of this project, along with Clive Charles, you could be a fan by being involved with this mural, and to just really kind of promote the incredible history that Poland has, is being Soccer City, USA.
You are watching Timbers 360, presented by Toyota.
When they had the memorial service there at UP, there's 1,000 people in the hall. I'm up on the second tier somewhere, and I'm looking down, and I said to my wife Linda, I said, every one of those people have a story about Clive. And if you put them in 1,000 separate rooms and ask them to summarise it in 2 or 3 minutes, it would all be the same. Genuine integrity. Love these players. Great coach. Fun to be around.
Clive Charles had such an impact on those that he coached, mentored, and played with. So much so that anybody that ever interacted with Clive seems to have a story to tell about him and his impact. There were so many that we created the Arclives, a collection of these stories.
The practice before the championship game, and he's just like, all right, take your boots off. And we had a competition who could launch them the furthest.
They throw him a basketball one time, and the first thing he does is start dribbling it two-handed, which everybody thought was pretty hilarious.
I said, Clive, it's the White House. So he was ready to get on the phone and, give this person a right mouthful.
The two of them, who obviously had a huge impact in soccer in Oregon, in the finalist tennis match, and I just remember that.
I could barely see Clive at the front of the pack. I mean, he was sitting there barely sweating at the end of it all as we all came in, trudging our way into the finish, and Clive was barely breathing.
I think when you look at what he's done in the community, how he brought soccer, look where we sit here today in Providence Park. I look at him and say the godfather of soccer in Portland.
And he was such a, everyone talks about a father figure, and for me personally, it's the reason why I named my son Micah Clive.
You are watching Timbers 360, presented by Toyota. Thanks for watching a special edition of Timbers 360, presented by Toyota.